Hey guys, Audra here with Flawless Crested Geckos, and I'm coming to you today with a video that is geared towards beginners in crested geckos and reptiles as a whole. Now, when you're a beginner in dealing with reptiles in general, obviously there are a lot of things that you as a consumer, as a pet lover, just getting started, there's information that you need. A lot of times it's very difficult unless it's a very prolific reptile, one that's extremely popular. Even then, some of the extremely popular reptiles such as bearded dragons, ball pythons, different animals like that, chameleons, every reptile has somewhat of a different care or somewhat of a different habitat and those things. And a lot of times beginners buy these animals and they don't have the resources. They think that maybe, they went to a pet store and grabbed up a care guide and that's the truth. That's concrete, exactly what they should do. As we've told you guys before, when we began years ago, just going and getting some crested geckos for our kids, we didn't know those things. We relied on the pet store, the information that they gave us. We felt like, okay, this is where you go. This is a pet store, they deal in pets, and they probably know what they're talking about. And obviously we learned the hard way that they didn't. And that a lot of the things that your big franchise pet stores put out there isn't exactly correct information. Some of it may be useful, and some of the things that you buy out of there may be useful, but as a whole, you really do have to reach outside of yourself and outside of just your immediate surroundings and really search for resources to help you when you're learning how to begin to take care of these awesome animals. I figured, why not just put this video out there for all you beginners that are looking into purchasing a crested gecko or a reptile of any kind, so that it'd be a little bit easier to go out there and actually find some of these resources straight off the bat instead of having to look through a haystack for that needle. The first thing that comes to mind when I'm thinking about educating myself are books. I mean, what better place to go to than to actually pick up a textbook or pick up an informational guide as far as an actual book that you can read and you can refer back to. I'm a sucker because I guess I'm vintage. I like actual books, like hard copies of books. I tend to like to hoard things, and so I end up having a lot of these books that I end up reading and then stacking on my bookshelf for it to just weigh my floor down. But anyway, books are a great resource. Now, some of the books out there, obviously you've got to check through and read the reviews. When you read the reviews, you want to kind of consider the source. Some of those reviews may be beginners themselves. You're gonna want to find reviews out there of people who are actually in the industry or who have a knowledge of care for crested geckos or care for reptiles, that they can give you an honest evaluation of the book, whether it's a good purchase for you or not, whether it's going to give you reliable information or not. But one of those books for crested geckos across the board that I tend to point people to actually comes from the author Philippe de Vaucheray, called Crested Geckos. And you can actually purchase that off of Amazon, and I'm sure you can get it other places, but Amazon is always our go-to. So that is a good one. It is a comprehensive guide that covers keeping and caring for crested geckos. So it is a perfect place to start as far as information that you need as a beginner for keeping crested geckos specifically. And so that is one example of a book that might be really useful for you as a beginner in crested geckos. There are tons more out there, but like I said, that is a great resource. Go on Amazon, look up books on crested geckos. You will see that the one that Philippe has written is right up there at the top, and there are plenty more that you could research and find out reviews and look through. The next resource or resources that you might want to check out when you're beginning in your crested gecko journey, a reptile journey, is of course websites. Now, the World Wide Web has been around for quite some time now, and I happen to be in that generation of people that I was lucky because I had part of my life growing up without any internet whatsoever, and then obviously part of my life I was introduced to the internet and its wealth of knowledge that it can put out there in front of you. Now again, you have to be discerning. You want to make sure that whatever resource you're looking at, you want to look at multiple resources. If you look at a lot of different websites and they say a lot of different things, you don't really know where to turn. So some of the best websites that I have come across that I could point you to, and of course you're going to want to do your own research to make sure that they're reliable, but reptile forums such as Morph Market. Morph Market is a great place to go, and you can actually go into Morphpedia and you can see the different traits that crested geckos carry. You can get history and background information there. That is a wealth of knowledge in reptiles in general, whatever reptile it is, but their crested gecko area is great. And you can also, of course, purchase geckos off of Morph Market. You can purchase ball pythons, you can purchase a lot of things. And the new owner, Darian, he's really making some cool changes and looking forward to some positivity for Morph Market and seeing what's going on there. In fact, if you haven't checked out the newest feature, the auction feature, that's really cool. So like I said, Morph Market is one of those websites that I would highly recommend to go to research and find out some details. Plus you'll be able to research multiple breeders on Morph Market, as Darian has a very high standard of what he expects out of his breeders. So you can expect to go to Morph Market and have some good experiences, hopefully. So, and everybody's different. That's just my opinion. I think that the majority of breeders on Morph Market, obviously we all want the same thing, and that's for our animals to go to a loving, wonderful home and live a long, healthy life. So, Morph Market. littlemonsters.com, which is awesome. They have an absolutely amazing platform there that gives tons of great information about genetics of crested geckos and all the morphs and traits that we have come to kind of know at this point. And it's continuing to evolve and continuing to get better and better. So just check them out periodically. They're always updating their foundation genetics and really take this very seriously as it pertains to really learning about crested geckos. General sites, and again, it's one of those things where when you Google how to care for crested geckos, or care of crested geckos, or crested gecko care, or beginners for or beginner reptiles, or crested geckos for beginners, you'll come up with a lot of resources that you can kind of go through. And if something doesn't seem right, or it's not a consensus across the board, then I would say, definitely use multiple resources to kind of figure out whether that's, something that you need to go with or not. So a lot of times breeders who have, decided that not only will they sell on Morph Market or Facebook or Instagram, but breeders also have their own websites. A lot of them do. Now, some of them only do sales on their website, which is completely cool. In fact, that is something that our website does primarily. However, a lot of those websites also have chat features that you can actually talk to the breeders themselves. And that is a valuable resource to have. If you go to that breeder's website and they have an email contact or a chat, feature that you can type in there and ask a question or whatnot. And it's just like, I actually opened one today that asked, I'm looking at a specific gecko and I'm curious, what does soft scale mean? So, I replied back and explained what a soft scale is. So those are some definite resources as far as websites are concerned, as different breeders' websites. So in addition to internet is obviously going to be your social medias, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube. Obviously this is one of them. We would love to have you come and binge watch our videos. We would love nothing more than for you to find entertainment and education and enjoyment out of our YouTube channels. But some other YouTube channels that I can honestly say are great resources for all things reptiles. Our, snake discovery with Emily, she's a wealth of knowledge. Emzotic, she is a wealth of knowledge as well, and she's very good about showing animal care and husbandry. She also works with Zen Habitat that does awesome enclosures, and if you've ever had any questions about any of that, she's super helpful with that. She is very clear about the animals that she keeps and what level of expertise that you need to have in order for you to have a safe and healthy interaction with your animal. So she's very good at being able to tell you, okay, a beginner, this animal isn't for a beginner, but this animal is. There are just so many different YouTube channels in general that can help you along your journey. In addition to social media as far as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and all that, there are also groups within the social media platforms that give a lot of good information. Now, I will say that sometimes they can be a little harsh, and sometimes it's hard to get information without being afraid to ask questions. The best thing for a beginner crested gecko keeper to do is first and foremost, before you go buy a crested gecko that you don't have a clue as to how to take care of, or you've only really researched it for a couple of weeks, maybe you should check out those Facebook groups and really go through them and see what's not acceptable and what is. And that way it saves you a lot of pain and heartache if you get into it and you see that you're not doing something that maybe you should be, and you don't even have to cross that bridge. You've already gotten it taken care of because you did the research prior, and you were able to kind of look through some of those Facebook groups and see what the consensus is that's unacceptable to do, and the consensus that is great and positive for your animals. There are a lot of varying opinions on enclosure styles and things like that, and it's okay. We can all coexist as long as you're taking care of your animals. They're healthy, they're happy, and they have all of their essentials met, and they're thriving and enjoying their lives in your home, then they're okay. So there are a lot of things that are opinion based, and we all have them, and some of them stink and some of them don't. Keep in mind when you go into some of the groups that everybody's going to have a different opinion, that there are some non-negotiables and what's unacceptable for crested gecko care, and then there are obviously those things that are really preference. So that would help a lot if prior to purchasing your animal that you go in and you really look at some of those groups and find out some information prior to. Obviously, when you're in the field of animals, sometimes things happen and you have to search for help that's past your expertise. And when I say that because we're talking about veterinarians. A lot of areas don't have veterinarians that see reptiles. Specifically, these vets are referred to as exotic animals. They're exotic animal vets, and a lot of them just don't see exotics. They don't have that expertise. A lot of times us as breeders, we have a little bit more expertise as far as our specific animal than even a vet does. It's very important that if you're searching for a veterinarian to take care of your animal or to get information from as a beginner, that you look for one that is acclimated to dealing with reptiles in general, and that it is an exotic vet. We've even found issues with some of the exotic vets that we've been to seeing crested geckos or lizards, but they might not see snakes. Really research the vet before you go, searching for information from the vet, because it could be that particular veterinarian tries and they give you the best of the information that they have in their knowledge bank, but they may not be well versed in the study of reptiles. Next on my list of resources, if you're really into the science behind reptiles in general, then you're going to want to look through scientific journals and articles from higher-based institutions. Now, that being said, some of that type of information is going to be more about diseases, origins of diseases or syndromes, or like deformities, things like that, the actual essence of what nutrition is for crested geckos and all the different things that are within that nutrition, the breakdowns of lipids and fats and, you know, and minerals and carbs and all kinds of different proteins and things like that. If you're truly interested in going in a deep dive into the education of what is good for your crested gecko, then scientific journals and articles might be the place to search. You're going to want to look up different colleges in your area. A lot of those colleges are based in agriculture. Some have deep dives in herpetoculture and things like that. That's going to be the research that you glean from those particular entities. It's also going to give you history lessons of, you know, their origin, the specific reptile that you're interested in our case, crested geckos, their origin, their natural history, their behaviors, the science of their brains, and how they differ from other animals that we as a society keeps as pets. It's very interesting to really dig into that so that you know realistically what kind of companionship that a crested gecko would offer versus like a dog or a cat or things like that. Really researching, getting into those scientific articles and journals from higher educational institutes, people who legitimately know the science behind the neurology of the crested gecko, the functioning systems, you know, what their digestive system is like, how they absorb different resources. For us breeders, it's fairly important that we know about calcium absorption and how that works and how that plays into keeping our cresties healthy during breeding season, and also their offspring, what gives them the best chance at thriving in life and growing up to be abnormality free and healthy and give whoever that crestie might go to a family member for life. That is a very good place to get some general information about animals without having to go to school yourself for a reptile oriented degree. So the last resource that I'm going to discuss now is your local herpetological societies or your local science centers. So if you actually look back in some of our other videos, we put out a video that showed me going to our local science center in Spartanburg and just being able to provide a gecko for them to put on display there and to join the rest of their reptiles. And it goes into, you know, kind of detail of the different animals that they keep there. And they are a wealth of knowledge because that is what they are. They are in there and they are focused on said reptiles. So whatever is in your area, you might want to check out your local herpetological societies and visit. And if you have children, that would be a great place to take your children. Science centers are a wealth of knowledge, and a lot of times, you know, they're provided with some resources that you won't actually get from reading a book or looking at a website or even going to a reptile show or something like that. You'll actually be able to go in there and educate yourself while actually being hands-on with a lot of the animals that you're interested in. So I really hope that this video has been educational for you, informational. It's more informational than it is educational, but we get these questions a lot. You know, I don't know where to start. How do you do this? Or what do they need? Or all of these things. And I figured it might as well be a good idea to give you guys a starting point as to doing this research. If you like this type of information, if this helped you at all, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and let us know in the comments this is something that you might like to see more of. Of course, you're going to want to cross-reference all of these things that I have given you. Like I said, you want to take the sum of all of these resources into account when you're actually finally making your decision to go ahead and purchase a crested gecko or any reptile for that matter. It's important to research the reliability of the sources that you're coming up with. Start really following and watching the different breeders that you feel like have the best reviews, the skill, the education behind it, and thoroughly enjoy helping new keepers. Do your research. You must build a great knowledge base that helps you create the best environment for your crestie. So like I said, hope this helps, and all the resources that I've mentioned, plus maybe a few more, will be in the description box of this video, and I'll see you next time. I'm out.